myself with some time in the art studio this week, and I really wanted to do a little bit of watercolor because right now I'm teaching an in-person watercolor class on Wednesday evenings. And I just kind of wanted to get back in the headspace of working with watercolor and really embrace just the bold colors and the fun play of mixing the primary colors together to see what came out. And then just not really having to worry about a subject matter. I kind of just wanted to play with marks on the page and really enjoy the juicy blobs that my paintbrush puts down. So in this video, I'm just playing in my watercolor sketchbook and kind of going between the different primaries, mixing up some secondaries and tertiary colors and neutral colors, and just kind of going along. I've done something similar with this with acrylic, playing with like a very limited color palette and just kind of like mixing a new color, putting down some marks, mixing a new color, putting down some marks. So this is very reminiscent of that, but being that I'm working with watercolor this time, I can also play with what happens when the marks that I put down touch and how that changes as the flow of water and paint pigments and colors come together to create more new marks. So it has a little bit of a confetti vibe, a little bit of a, fun fiesta of colors. It's just a really nice, relaxing process when you don't really have something in mind that you're working on. Maybe you don't even have a lot of time to work, but you just kind of want to create something and you want to work with watercolor. You could absolutely do this process in really any other kind of medium you wanted to. But the fun with the watercolor is that you have that play of a juicy brush loaded with color and kind of seeing how does that mix new colors, what happens when the marks that you touch down to the paper when they touch, and then kind of playing with kind of sprinkling those throughout the page. So this was just a really fun kind of mix between a warm-up and an exercise and a small creative technique that just kind of gave me something really fun and relaxing to do. So if you enjoy this kind of stuff, you should definitely try it out. It's really, really fun. It would also be fun to do this. I'm using primary colors because that's kind of how I'm starting the foundation of this watercolor class I'm teaching. I didn't want them to have to buy a ton of paints, and I really wanted to give them control over mixing their own secondary and tertiary colors and really kind of seeing how does that play. The great thing is they come to class with, often you get kind of like the multi-pack of paint tubes. So you have a variety of reds and yellows and blues to play with, as well as some of the secondary colors, which is great. So we really talk a lot about the different colors that are made by using different kinds of reds and different kinds of yellows and different kinds of blues. So this was also a great way to use the paint that was left over on my plate from class the last week before I kind of clean it up so I have a fresh mixing palette to use for the next class. And just to kind of remind myself of all the fun colors that these specific primary colors can use. So the colors that I'm using for this one are alizarin crimson for my red, lemon yellow for my yellow, and ultramarine blue for my blue. Those are kind of some of my go-tos. We talk a lot about using magenta instead of red and kind of how that changes it and what are the different ways. Some of the people in the class had some other kinds of blues, like cerulean blue is kind of a fun one to play with, and how does that change the colors that we get. So it's really fun to use your watercolors to play with that. So I hope you try this. It's really fun and relaxing, and I'll see you next time.